All right, let's watch the Trump interviews, shall we? Shall we?
Like a no-huddle offense. You know, plays going down the field, one after another. There's a long list of things you've already got done in 3 weeks. Big border policy changes, ICE crackdowns on criminals, taking biological men out of women and girls' sports, big energy policy changes. So what's different with you and your administration? The difference between the 45th president and the 47th president?
Well, with the 45th, I had tremendous opposition. I won. I did a great job. I never ran before, and I won the presidency. But I didn't know people, and I didn't have the kind of support that I needed. I put people in office, some great, some really great ones, but I had some that I wouldn't have put. I would have, known better if it were a couple of years later, or if I had a little more experience in D.C. I was a New York person, not a D.C. person. And I had a lot of opposition. I just noticed, I looked on the stage for the recent inauguration, and I'm looking, it's like a who's who of Washington. Well, if you look on the stage for the first one, it was just the opposite. There weren't a lot of people that were Washington people. And I had some great people, but I had some people that I wouldn't have put there. And I had opposition that I don't have now, this great unity. Even many of the enemies are already, whether they gave up and they just said, look, we're going with this guy. But I have great support in the business community, in the political community. You take a look at the Senate right now. It's like it's been phenomenal. You take a look at the House. We have our leadership in both is fantastic. We really have tremendous momentum, and it's great for the country. And all over the world, they're talking about it. There's like a light shining all over the world. So many people have said that, not just here, all over the world.
So some of your plays.
I love Trump's speech, where by the time he finishes his thought, I don't remember what he even was asked.
Have raised some questions and had some pushbacks. 19 states' attorneys general filed a lawsuit, and early Saturday, a judge agreed with them to restrict Elon Musk and his team, government efficiency team and DOJ, from accessing Treasury Department payment and data systems. They said there was a risk of irreparable harm. What do you make of that? And does that slow you down on what you want to do?
No, I disagree with it 100%. I think it's crazy. And we have to solve the efficiency problem. We have to solve the fraud, waste, abuse, all the things that have gone into the government. You take a look at the USAID, the kind of fraud in there.
And you found
the money.
Yeah, I mean, Alvin Gold told me that the USAID was making my games woke. And that guy's always been right about everything, famously. And you guys know how I feel about woke games, okay? We've gone too far. We've gone too far.
Going. Well, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of money that's going to places where it shouldn't be going, where if I read a list, you'd say this is ridiculous, and you've read the same lists, and there are many that you haven't even seen. It's crazy. We're talking about hundreds of millions, even billions of dollars. It's just a fraud. It's a big scam. Now, there's some good money, and we can do that through any one of a number. I think I'd rather give it to Marco Rubio over at the State Department. Let him take care of the few good ones. But I mean, usually when you have a list like that, you'll have a couple of bad ones and all good ones. Here we have a couple of good ones and all bad ones. Just hundreds of horrible places that they're giving this money. So I don't know if it's kickbacks or what's going on, but the people, look, I ran on this.
It's so, it's really, really, really sad. Also, a few good ones is crazy. I'm starting to think this guy might not make a very good president. The saddest part about Trump and the Trump voters, the Trump voter base, you were more likely to vote for Trump if you were from a red state. Obviously, everyone knows this. And also, red states experience or receive the most federal funding. Trump destroying federal funding as a way to cut government waste, which is basically just, we're not going to give you back your tax dollars in these social programs, but we're going to continue taxing you. That's going to hit red states the most, like the hardest. A lot of blue states, especially blue states that have big coastal cities that are already pretty well off in terms of their GDP, they have enough government programs, or state programs, that they can help fund a lot of the things that their state needs. California generates so much money in tax dollars that even if a lot of government funding shut down, would it impact California? Yeah, of course. But California still has so much industry and such high taxes that it would manage. It would just be a period of...
It is way worse now than what would have been if Trump would have won 2020. Now he has had 4 years to plan with all these lunatics.
Oh, yeah. I mean, realistically, Trump isn't doing any of the planning. He just wants the position for the power, authority, and whatever, and immunity from prosecution. But California, a lot of its programs, a lot of its social programs are state funded. So if California stopped receiving government aid, again, would it impact the state? Yeah, of course. Every state receives some level of government funding, and if you strip that away from them, there's going to be some transitionary period where you're trying to reallocate funds and trying to make sure that every department has at least a bare minimum to keep running. But it'll still run. A lot of these programs will still run. Red states that do not have high enough GDPs, that do not have thriving industries, red states where like the primary employer is fucking Walmart, those states are fucked. Like, those states are fucked. It's like, it's sad. A lot of these states also have food deserts. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these states rely on funding for schools. They rely on funding for food. They rely on funding for infrastructure. They rely on funding for healthcare, for anything that you can think of. Which sucks because a lot of the people that have to grow up in these states just get to experience a shittier and shittier version of their state. With red states, obviously a couple exceptions. Texas, for example, has enough industry in it that it's okay. Florida has Disney, so they're going to be fine. But like Alabama is not going to be fine. Mississippi is not going to be fine. Tennessee, Louisiana, those are states that are not going to be fine. Those are states that are going to have serious problems if federal funding is cut.
To find it. And I've had a great help with Elon Musk, who's been terrific. He comes in with 100 of very smart people. You know, it started off with 12, then it went to 15, then it went to 25, then it went to 50, and everybody wants to join. And I guess you have to have an IQ of about 175 at least to do it. They're a smart group of people. They don't dress as well as you or maybe me, but they are smart, and they go in there.
Dude, I hate this. Oh, I hate this idea. This is like...
Sure.
He hasn't cut state funding yet, has he? I mean, they did a little bit, and then they kind of rolled it back when he put a pause on all government funding, on all federal funding. And then people couldn't access like their SNAP accounts, and they couldn't access their, what is it called? Medicare accounts, which I have to say is another crazy thing. Cutting Medicare or Medicaid and pretending like this is good is insane. Just because I don't have healthcare doesn't mean I want other people to not have healthcare. There's something very infuriating about Silicon Valley's tech bros that all dress the same shitty way, where they wear like a fucking t-shirt or like a sweater and some sweatpants or something. Like they dress shitty on purpose because it's supposed to signal to you, the average person, that they're a smart bro, that they're a genius in Silicon Valley. But they're not at all, even a little. They're just lazy fucks. Like, these people are not... It's actually one of the things that makes me so pissed. They're above suits. They don't have time to dress well. They're too busy changing the world by introducing Juicero.
there and they talk to people, and the people get all tongue-tied because they have no idea. You know, nobody thought this would be caught. And
so you'll fight this in court, but how does it work with Elon day to day? Does he come in and say, this is what I'm working on? Does he say, here's what we're doing?
First of all, he's a great guy. He was never really a supporter or not a supporter. He was a, you know, sort of semi-neutral kind of a guy, not a political person, very smart, brilliant person, and which I like. I'm a big believer in IQ points. I mean, it's a good thing. And I've gotten to know him a little bit over the last couple of years. During the campaign, he liked what I said. He went to Pennsylvania. He actually campaigned right after the rocket ship went up, where he caught it coming down, which nobody saw before. He then took off. He went to Pennsylvania. He
caught it coming down?
Campaigned for me and did a very good job. I won Pennsylvania by a lot. I won everything by a lot. But Elon, I'd say, go in here, because USAID, I heard very bad things about for years. I mean, you did too. I mean, I'm sure you did too. It's a scam.
Yeah, with a really big baseball glove.
It's a fraud, a lot of it, most of it. But it's a fraud. Look at the jobs that they produce for people. I'm not even going to mention their name. It's too big a show to mention their name. It's almost unfair. But the whole thing is a giant fraud. And I think judges will have to do the right thing, really. Otherwise, you're going to have a whole big problem with the country. Now,
bottom line, you say you trust him.
Trust.
Big believer in IQ points, but also I want to remove all the things that might increase IQ points in our country. Proper nutrition, we don't need that. School lunches, we don't need that. SNAP, we don't need that. Good education, we don't need that. And anyone who's ever done, by the way, any research on IQ, besides the fact that like IQ's fake and all this other stuff, I've said it a million times before, but IQ is only important for relative performance to yourself. So like trying to figure out, for example, how mind-altering drugs impact your intelligence. You might take an IQ test as a control group or in the control group, and then maybe take some type of drug and then take another IQ test, a different IQ test of a similar fashion to see how you personally are impacted. It's good for comparing people to themselves, right? Or like mental decline, general mental decline from old age. Again, it's good for comparing you to yourself. It's good to use as like a base point or for general brain power, I guess, as an individual. Comparing some people to other people on IQ tests is stupid because you can learn how to take IQ tests. It doesn't, it's like, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. It's sort of eugenics. I mean, its invention was eugenics, but anyways, not relevant. It's sad because again, it's used as like this end all be all of intelligence when meanwhile, it's really only good for measuring cognitive function and comparing yourself to yourself. It's not an accurate metric of intelligence from one person to another person. It's a lot like BMI, where, yeah, if your BMI is way too high, you are probably unhealthy. If your BMI is within like morbid obesity, yes. But at that point, you don't need a fucking BMI to know that. Like, what? Meanwhile, for a lot of people, BMI is not that good of a metric. For a lot of people that are within some range of average, BMI is not a great metric on determining health. There are a lot of people that are within healthy range and they eat nothing but junk food, Red 40, straight from the fucking Red 40 bottle, never work out, but because they're thin, it's like, oh, your BMI, you're healthy, you're good to go. Your BMI is not a good metric of health. It's just not. It's not a good metric of health. And also, yes, the BMI doesn't account for muscle, et cetera, et cetera. Again, There are way better metrics for health. Blood tests, for example, comprehensive blood tests, those are a very good metric of health. Those are pretty good. But like most BMI tests, you can just kind of look at someone and you would be as accurate as the BMI test. I got so mad at my doctor when she told me I had to lose weight at 30 BMI. I body build and I'm about 10%, 11% body fat. Being at 11% body fat and then told to lose weight is crazy. This is what I mean when I say like BMI is stupid, right? It's fucking dumb. It's not a good metric. If you want to measure someone's health, there are better metrics for measuring someone's health. There just are. They're just way better metrics. And not difficult ones either. Sorry, this chat message I'm sending me. This chat message is sending me. Guys, I can't. I'm trying to resist the urge to joke so hard, but I can't. Oh, never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Anyways, yeah, the name, yeah. Okay. In the same way, IQ is not really a good metric for intelligence. There are better metrics for someone's intelligence. IQ is not a great metric for intelligence. Again, it's good for cognitive function to compare yourself to yourself. That's kind of the only way that it's good. Right? And anyone who starts telling you their IQ, just know they're a total dumb fuck. That's like the metric of someone who's a total moron. The type of person that goes around saying, I have a high IQ, I'm really smart.
Elon? Oh, he's not gaining anything. In fact, I wonder how he can devote the time to it. He's so into it. But I told him do that. Then I'm going to tell him very soon, like maybe in 24 hours, to go check the Department of Education. He's going to find the same thing. Then I'm going to go to the military. Let's check the military. We're going to find billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud and abuse. And, you know, the people elected me on that. And we have a group of people that you just can't get. I mean, these are really brilliant. It's a group, I call it the group of 100. We literally started off with 14 or 15 young geniuses. Now we have 100 young geniuses. And what's happened, I'll probably get a lot from the show, people are calling up from all over the country wanting to do and wanting to help Elon. You know, they respect him and they respect me. They love what's happening with our country.
People are calling from all over the country to see how they can help Elon.
But I campaigned on this, Brett.
You announced tariffs on Canada and Mexico. You immediately got action from both.
What's unbelievably funny about this is if they wanted to save some money, they just need to cut the military budget. Correct.
Them on border security and drug interdiction.
I did.
I won't even okay, first of all, I do think that the military budget should be cut because I think it's fucking insane, but that's beyond the point. Let's just pretend you don't want to cut the budget, right? Like, let's just pretend we need all of the military equipment we need. If we had Doge, but for the military industrial complex, we would save probably billions a year, if not trillions. Because the number of contracts that just basically go unchecked, where we're paying $500 for like a bolt, it's absurd. It's actually absurd. The Pentagon has failed their audit 5 times in a row. All the excess equipment they don't use ends up going to the police too. One, a bunch of equipment that never gets used. 2, a bunch of lost assets. Money that's just like, we don't know where that $1 trillion went. 3, the contracts where we're just absolutely getting fucked. Where it's, I mean, you guys are welcome to look into this stuff. It's bad. It's bad. It might be at this point, we've probably lost trillions of dollars to bullshit. Contracts where we're being sold toilet paper for $50 a roll. Like, if all we did was just audit the Pentagon, you know, but actually, and make sure that all of the equipment that we buy actually gets used and is bought at a fair market rate, trillions of dollars would suddenly appear. There was that one time we paid millions for old ammunition. I ordered parts when I was active duty, and you're correct. Toilet seats costing $600. Mm-hmm. It's really bad. It's really, really bad. $1 grillion a year, so a random kid from Idaho can get his schmeat blown off defending a poppy field. Yeah. Yeah. Soldiers destroying their leftover ammo before returning to the United States. The Air Force reportedly paid a 7,943% markup on soap dispensers for C-17s. That's a good thing. That's good. I like that our government spends $5 billion on one bottle of soap. No, guys, this is good. This is good. As former ordinance, I can explain this. Number one, it was outside climate-controlled storage areas for a long period of time. Chain of custody can create unsafe packs, even if it's inspected and passed. Once ordinance enters a theater, only certain munitions are allowed out. Number 4, safety considerations. I like that the last one doesn't mean anything. I think in some cases it makes sense, like when bolts cost hundreds of dollars, you're not paying for the bolt itself, but the manufacturing paper trail, if that makes sense, so you can keep a record of everything. I don't know. No. Because we're buying like hundreds of thousands of bolts for millions of dollars instead of tens of thousands of dollars. Like, realistically, proper accounting, it doesn't matter if it's a fucking penny. You account for everything anyways. There's no reason to not just get a reasonable price for the product, except, you know, if you're in cahoots with the, I don't know, Lockheed Martin, for example. There's like, there was a good, was it an NPR piece? This is when I first found out about it, I think. Army food contractor admits fraud to pay $434 million. Federal contractor Supreme Food Service, which provided food and water to troops in Afghanistan, pleaded guilty to fraud on Monday and agreed to pay $434 million to the government in restitution. It doesn't actually describe what the fraud was here. Oh. It wasn't this one, no. This is separate. This is a separate piece. More fraud. Excellent. Good. Let me see if I can find it. Was it this one? This is from justice.gov. Defense contractor resolves criminal, civil, and administrative liability related to food contracts. Agility Public Warehousing has agreed to globally resolve criminal, civil, and administrative cases arising from allegations that they overcharged the United States when performing contracts with the Department of Defense to supply food for the U.S. troops from 2003 to 2010. Does it describe the details? Doesn't describe the details in here. But yeah, the TLDR, a bottle of water, that'll be $100, please. And so much of our government, so much of the military markups, it's insane. It's like insane. So yeah. Okay, moving on. What's this? Wait, before we go, sorry. Now, imagine that everything that the Pentagon is buying is at that same price hike. Exactly what's happening right now with healthcare for average everyday Americans is what is happening to the Pentagon, except the Pentagon, a lot of the people that are in positions to facilitate these contracts have major conflicts of interests with the people who, you know, run these companies and are selling to the military. You know how when you go to the hospital and then they charge you $500 for one ibuprofen? It's the same thing. My husband works at a fancy AR manufacturer that would be bankrupt if they weren't carried by military contracts. Rick Perry would come in to chit-chat with the owner, tell me why the Army needs fluted barrels. They don't. It's just toys and greased palms to them. Sure.
But
who could have seen this coming? Oh my. I cannot believe this. You're telling me this for the first time. Whoa. You're not right to repair in the fucking military, dude. Oh my God.
It's likely.
But how can you look at this and tell me that we're not getting our ass beat by China? Fucking Xi Jinping would be like, okay then. Dissolve. Be bought out now or dissolve yourself. Give us the company for a fair price or know that we shall not purchase anything else from you. Meanwhile, the U.S., the Pentagon. Oh, we're just a really small bean. We just have to pay $12,000 for a piece of toilet paper. You moron. Oh my God.
One company is telling you what's going to happen.
The literal government. Shapes and colors, man. Shapes and colors. Story about having State Department whistleblower interviews about how Israel destroys the ceasefire negotiations, but not airing it for almost a year. Literal state media who protected Biden. Yep.
About 60 minutes, some background interviews
when was this? This was a year ago.
Analysts, but ultimately decided not to provide anyone to speak on camera.
Like, this is literally the bloat, by the way. When we talk about bloat, when we talk about government bloat, this is some of the worst government bloat. Like, let's just pretend for a second that we need all this ammunition, that we need all these fighter jets, that we need all these weapons of war. Let's just pretend for 2 seconds, guys. Let's just pretend. This is all of this, the fact that we're paying 10,000% more for every single item. This would be a good place to start, guys. Except you won't see Elon or Musk do that because they're too busy rubbing elbows with the people from Lockheed Martin and Raytheon and Boeing. But sure, let's hear more about how we're doing some fixing of the blow.
A lot of
Is that
action
good
that nobody
enough?
expected.
Is that good enough?
No, it's not good enough.
So more needed in 30 days.
We have a tremendous deficit with Mexico. We have a tremendous deficit with Canada. We have a tremendous deficit with Europe, the EU. With China, I don't even want to tell you what Biden's allowed to happen with China. They're eating our lunch, and something has to happen. It's not sustainable, and I'm changing it. But when I talked about Canada, they gave us tremendous security along. It started out for security, and then it started getting economic, and it's really both.
You know, the Prime Minister said this weekend to a group of Canadian businessmen, he was at a private meeting, he said that your wish for Canada to be the 51st state is a, quote, real thing. Is it a real thing?
Yeah, it is. I think Canada would be much better off being a 51st state because we lose $200 billion a year with Canada, and I'm not going to let that happen. It's too much. Why would we do that? I asked Trudeau that question. I said, why would anybody want to lose $200 billion? Why would I, as president, say, I'm going to give you $200 billion a year? You're Canada. You're a different country. And I love Canada. I have so many friends in Canada, you can't count them. Wayne Gretzky, I love Wayne Gretzky. I love so many people. I love their tradition. I love their ice hockey. But why are we paying $200 billion a year, essentially in subsidy to Canada? Now, if they're a 51st state, I don't mind doing it. The Canadian citizens would have a much lower tax rate. They'd have much better medical, and they'd have military protection like nobody can have. You know, you have Russian ships all over the place. You have Chinese ships all over the place. They're sailing all over Canada. They're sailing right next to Greenland. We're not going to let that happen to Greenland. They're sailing all over, and we're going to stop that. But if you're a Canadian and you pay much lower taxes, you have much better military protection. You know, Canada is in default in NATO. I mean, they pay the lowest number of any country for NATO. And it's not fair. You know why they do that? Because they think America is going to protect them automatically. We can't do that anymore. But as a state, it all works great. As another country, I'm not going to do it. Now, what's going to happen if I take away the subsidy? Canada really ceases to become a viable nation.
We talked about China.
You guys don't understand. Canada cannot exist without the United States, all right? What was the question again? You know, great. That is a good question. What doesn't make any sense is that as the hegemon deal, the deals we make are in our favor, Canada subsidizes their lumber for us, for example. So crying foul is just ridiculous. Yes. It's almost like, I don't know, countries work together to better each other. Nah, that's too crazy. Nah.
And that tariff is in place. You've said tariff is a beautiful word.
Well, that's just a small portion of it. I just did the China having to do with what's happening with fentanyl. That was a penalty to China because they're sending massive numbers. I mean, numbers like we've never seen before.
So more to come.
It really increased under Biden. What's happened under Biden is a disgrace. Not only the prisoners, mental patients, everybody from all over the world, not South America, all over the world, how he allowed this to happen. And when you see the great job that Tom Homan's doing and Kristi Noem and everybody else that they're doing with taking thousands of people a day out of here, and these are hardened criminals. These are murderers in many cases. Biden allowed this to happen to our country. We shouldn't have to be doing this.
You said the tariff is a beautiful word. There are some signs in the markets, consumer confidence, that they're a little jittery. So if all goes to plan, when do you think families will be able to feel prices going down, groceries, energy, or are you kind of saying to them, hang on, inflation may get worse until it gets better?
No, I think we're going to become a rich... Look, we're not that rich right now. We owe $36 trillion.
Richest country. in the world. Not that rich.
That's because we let all these nations take advantage of us. Same thing, like $200 billion with Canada. We owe $300. We have a deficit with Mexico of $350 billion. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let that happen. In the meantime, they're building car plants in Mexico in order to sell cars in the United States. Our auto workers, look at the kind of support I had with auto workers. Republicans don't get that support. I got record support with auto workers. I won the Teamsters Union. I mean, no Republican wins the Teamsters Union. I had support like nobody's ever had because they know I'm right. So in Mexico, they're building car plants all over the place to make cars, sell them into the United States. I say, no way, you're not going to do that. We're going to put big tariffs on those cars. I don't want those cars. We can make those cars right here. You know, if you look at Canada, Canada has a very big car industry. They stole it from us. They stole it because our people were asleep at the wheel.
Canada stole our car market.
So what happens is Canada is going to have our cars. We're going to take the car industry. If we don't make a deal with Canada, we're going to put a big tariff on cars. Could be a 50 or 100% because we don't want their cars. We want to make the cars in Detroit.
Sports has always been something that Americans rally around to come together. They really do. You won the popular vote. You won all the swing states. But still, Kamala Harris got 75 million votes in the country.
Well, if you believe the whole thing.
Yeah, okay. Let's just say
it is ridiculous.
That the election was as it was.
Excuse me. There are 7 swing states. I won them all.
You did
by a lot.
Anyone seen Detroit lately? Canada stole it lately? Anyone seen Detroit lately? Why would Canada ever steal it? Let's just be real, okay? All right. We've been waiting for someone to steal it. Nobody wants it. The people that live in Detroit that are in this chat, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't have to apologize. You know what I'm saying. You know. It's so stupid too because like you can literally just like look up any of this shit. It's all just bullshit. It's just bullshit. I can't find good stats on this, but anyways.
Let me just get to the dismount here.
And I won the popular.
Have you thought about how to try to bring the country together, to reach out or to find common ground? Have you thought about that or how that might go?
I'd love to do it. And I
mean, he just wants attention and people keep giving it to him. He's the president. I don't know what to tell you, man. This isn't a matter of people continuing to give him attention.
I can tell you, just prior to COVID coming in, we were doing so well. The greatest we've ever done.
I don't think we can really just ignore the president.
I mean, like ours, anywhere in the world, we were doing so well. We're eating China's lunch. I charge, I tariff China for.
Wait, why did he start saying this new thing? Like Mexico's eating our lunch, we're eating China's lunch. What is this?
For $700 billion over a period of years, we were doing so well, and then we had the COVID, we had to worry about that, and we took care of it. We did a great job with it, and then it was back to business. But I would say this: we have to come together. But to come together, there's only one thing that's going to do it, and that's massive success. In my first term,
I'm sure the Democrats will fight this and say, no, we shouldn't come together on such stupid policy, right? Right? Joe Morrell said he and many of his Democratic colleagues are willing to work with Republicans on issues at the southern border, inflation and public safety, as long as it's done legally. And then if it's done illegally, they're going to be like, oh, there's nothing we can do. Oh, there's just nothing we can do. Oh, man, if only there was something we could do. Wormy, you're so cracked out. What the hell's wrong with you?
Term, when we hit that number, and I mean, the day before I heard the word COVID or pandemic, they told me, sir, I think there's a pandemic. That was not a good thing. I said, tell me about pandemics. But the day before we hit that word, I had a meeting with political people and pollsters and everything else, and they said, sir, if George Washington and Abraham Lincoln got together and ran as president and vice president, they couldn't beat you. Our economy was so good. You know that. The best ever, the best we've ever had. And everybody was coming together. I was getting a call from very liberal people, senators, congressmen, people outside, people that normally weren't speaking to me. And they were all they were coming together. Then we had the pandemic, and, you know, it was back to work. We had to do that. And, you know, I was very proud to have handed over the country, and the stock market was higher than it was previous to the pandemic.
Well, we just had mayo sandwiches. That's a good trade. DNM balls.
Newsflash, asshole. The stock market doesn't mean shit for the average living conditions of the average American. Oh, I hate politicians. I hate Trump. I hate all these fuckers, dude. It's just garbage. It's just shoveling garbage all day, all night.
Coming in, it was an amazing achievement. We did a good job, but it was a terrible thing all over the world. Think of it. Millions of people all over the world, countries were destroyed, far worse than what happened to us. I mean, some countries were just, they're still suffering from the throes of the pandemic. But the word is success. Success will bring the country together, but it's hard.
Also, I finally found a source. About 80% of the vehicles that Ford sells in the United States are assembled in America. But sure, yes. I specifically use Ford because last I checked, the Ford 150 or 350s were the most sold car in America in the past year or two. But Canada definitely stole it. No, it's that Canada has steel manufacturing. Mexico has, I believe, some steel manufacturing. I know Canada does for sure. So tariffing these things is fucking stupid because we get a lot of these products from Canada and then we assemble them here. It's dumb to be like, they stole it. It's like, what? Ford 150 is selling like crazy here. Yeah, I think it was the F-150 that was the best selling truck of 2023. Was it that? Car 2020. Let's see what 2024 was. The Toyota RAV4. Is that right? In 2024. Oh, that's the best non-truck. Well, what about all cars? What? I'm sitting in an F-150 right now. How many items are in your truck bed? Be honest. Be honest. But have you considered that a tariff is a beautiful word? That's a good point. Yes, it's the Ford F-Series, which had the most units sold last year. Or sorry, in 2023. That's good. That's good. That's good. Yes. Yes.
And I say it's hard. I just signed a bill allowing for women not to have to be punished by men in sports. In other words, men are not going to be allowed to play in sports against women. It's ridiculous. You saw, I quoted a couple of things, long distance race where the man won by 5 hours and 25 minutes. 5 hours and 25 minutes, not by 12 seconds. Boxing, you see what happens there. Weightlifting, they're setting records where hundreds of pounds more of it.
Not happening.
It's the craziest thing. Now, we're never going to change, and perhaps they're never going to change because I saw that after I signed the bill.
Denims viewer owns a truck. Or sorry, a Ford 150. I mean, it's a first-time chatter, so I would use viewer conservatively here. 0 items in your truck bed. Yeah, you and everybody else who owns a Ford 150. At least you're honest. At least you're honest, chatter, okay? At least you're honest. What I don't understand is if you want a good truck, why the Ford 150? It's not a good truck. Like, it's literally not Let me see if I can find the Wormy. Oh my God, Wormy. Dude, she's so camera shy. Whenever I start recording her, she stops moving. She's such a maniac. Anyways, what was I talking about? Right. Cars. I saw like a really good infographic on the truck bed sizes of the Fords over the past 5 years or whatever, and that they're literally just getting progressively smaller. Like some of the recent Fords, it's better to just get a fucking van. You're better off getting a fucking minivan. The truck bed is so tiny. This is it. I found it. How the Ford 150's design has changed over the years. And here we have 30% of the truck was, 64% was bed size from 1961 to 1979, then 60% in the 1980s and 90s, then 50% in the late 90s, early 2000s, 40%, 2004 to 2015, and now it is 37% bed. Why? 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 If you want a large cab size, just get a normal car. Yeah, but can you wear skin-tight Oakleys in a minivan? Yeah, I didn't think so. Yeah, I didn't think so. It's like, it's sad. It's genuinely sad.
Democrats were complaining about it. They want men to plan.
Also, K-trucks have the same truck bed size as current F-150s. Yeah, dude, I'm a big K-truck enjoyer, okay?
Women's sports, open borders. I don't want to have open borders. I want to have very strong borders. I want people to.
The cab is for the kids they pick up for the weekend.
Come in, but they have to come in legally, and they have to love our country. They have to be capable. They have to be merit. You know, we won a big Supreme Court case. It's called merit-based. We have the right to have merit-based.
All right, let's talk about.
So it's hard to come together when you have some people want a closed border and some people want an open border. Some people want men playing in women's sports. Some people are big into transgender. The Republican Party isn't.
They're big into transgender. What is qualifying as being big into transgender? Can you be big into transgender as a cis person? Or like, is that a new term for chasers? Or is that like, if you are trans, you're big into transgender? What is that? What does big into transgender mean? It's a hobby now, I guess. I guess it's like being big into video games. Yeah. I think I don't know, man. I think they're pretty big into transgender the way they never stopped talking about it. Trump didn't even care about this shit until it became a dominant wedge issue. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't understand how. I don't understand how, like, conservatives don't see how transparent this, like, shilling is. This one. Does this have the clip? No, this is some other clip.
The president in power tonight.
No, this is some other clip. I don't know why Yahoo articles fucking suck, dude. Trump checks crowd over crazy ovation. You didn't know about this 5 years ago? Oh, wait. This one? Wait. Like, how do you not feel like you're being lied to?
Critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children.
Huggers!
It's amazing how strongly people feel about that. You see, I'm talking about cutting taxes. People go like that. Talk about transgender. Everyone goes crazy. Who would have thought 5 years ago you didn't know what the hell it was? But one thing critical race.
How do you not feel tricked, dude? How do you not feel like a fucking idiot voting for this guy? Oh my God. He said the quiet part out loud. He literally said, I only talk about this shit because it makes the crowds go wild. Also, teaching about the existence of racism is inappropriate. Yeah. Everybody knows that white kids that had to go to school during the week that they learned about slavery, all of those white kids were told that they should hate themselves forever because they're evil, because they're white. This is all true. I saw it happen in my schools. A lot of other people saw it happen in their schools. It's real. It's real. This is what happens when you are white. That's what happens. You go to class and your teacher says you're white and you should feel bad about it. It's very real. As a white, I cried the whole class. Oh God, dude. I don't know how much more I have in me. Unlike how dog shit this is. Oh, and then there's the paper plastic part.
I think we're going to do some amazing things, really amazing things.
Last thing, I mean, you have a lot of things on your plate that you're going to do. But right now...
Well, you know, one thing I did last night that's very powerful, really, the straw. They gave us a paper straw. It melts. It's horrible. They should make it in flavors because by the time you finish, it is so horrible. I ended the paper straw. We're going to go back to plastic.
That might be a 90-10 issue.
It's about a 99.
Because no one loves the soggy straw.
This was a Biden issue, big Biden issue.
Can I just know, like, what exactly, like, I live in California, in LA, California, and they still serve me plastic straws. Where are people being served exclusively paper straws? I don't even know where this is happening. Also, paper straws were a thing before Biden, so I don't understand. Honestly, it's mostly just bougie restaurants. Paper straws for milkshakes are unusable, to be honest. Also, like, I'm sorry, the solution isn't more waste, IMO. The solution is if you're buying a disposable thing, you should just drink it without the straw, okay? And if you're getting a beverage at a store where you're sitting down, you should just make people use metal or glass straws. Huh? I think it was only really implemented in government offices, maybe. I don't even understand how this is I don't know.
Biden really knew. Somebody put things in front of him and signed whatever they did. I think you're right. It's at least a 90% issue.
Right now, do you view Vice President J.D. Vance as your successor, the Republican nominee in 2028?
No, but he's very...
No.
very capable. I mean, I don't think that
He's very capable, but no, not my successor. No.
You know, I think you have a lot of very capable people. So far, I think he's doing a fantastic job. It's too early. We're just starting. I will say,
but by the time you get to the midterms, he's going to be looking for an endorsement.
yeah, a lot of people have said that this has been the greatest opening, almost 3 weeks, in the history of the presidency.
Definitely been.
A lot of people have been saying this, guys. A lot of people, including all of the people who couldn't access the Medicaid portal and Medicare portal, including all of the people who died in the plane crashes, including all of the people who couldn't access SNAP for some period of time, including all of the farmers who are having their immigrant labor not show up, including the construction businesses that are having their labor not show up. A lot of people are saying that this is good.
Been the fastest and the most stuff
Well,
happening.
we've done so much so fast, and we really had to, because they have really, what they've done to our country is so sad. It's so sad. We're going to be bigger, better, and stronger than ever before.
Mr. President, we appreciate all the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Brad.